That's right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of According to Flint, staying true to our Western sports roots this week as we welcome the two-time PBR World Champion bull rider, CBS Sports Network analyst, color commentator, stand-up comedian, spokesmodel, whatever you want to call him. He's the one and only Justin McBride. McBride, you got a pretty good background there. Sunshine, trees. Not bad in Texas right now, huh?
Yes, sir. It's really nice right now. We had some cold weather, nothing like y'all get, but we had some of that cold North Texas weather about a week ago, and it is gone right now, and I am glad.
My friend Shorty Gorham and your friend will vouch for me that I might be from Montana, but maybe the coldest I ever was a 37-degree night in San Antonio, Texas. It's just not supposed to do that. That's way
no. I think the coldest I maybe have ever been is in Florida. In Tampa one year, it was cold for down there, and that's the same way. It's nothing compared to the temperatures that you're used to dealing with, but it was so cold.
I agree. I called you, when we were setting this up, and I sent you a message, and you said, I'll call you back. I'm at one of my kids. I'm at my daughter's volleyball game.
Yeah.
That's cool. To be able to do that right now, what's your, how old are your kids now?
Our daughter is a freshman and our son is a 5th grader.
Okay.
So it's nonstop around our place, and they play every sport known to man. So they stay pretty active.
Let's say your son, Jackson?
Jackson, yeah.
Jackson, does he own the rooster that we can hear in the background? Is Jackson?
Yeah, he does. He does. My dad, his grandpa brought it out to him. It's a terrible critter too. It is terrible. Chases Jill and Addison around. They're scared to death of it. And it has a little coop over here off the side of the cabin where it lives. And it's to the point where I don't shut the door at night. I leave the door. We got tons of coyotes out here and things. I'm just inviting something to get this dang rooster, and nothing will, man. He's a survivor. I don't feed him water. I mean, he is self-sufficient rooster.
And you can't pay. That's good. Nothing can probably kill him.
No, I wanted some guineas is what I wanted.
Don't they keep some, what do guinea snakes? Yeah.
Yes, snakes. And where I live in Texas, there's a lot of copperheads, which are terrible snakes. They make no sound. They look just like dead leaves, and they're very venomous. So I hear about these guineas, right?
Yeah.
Guineas are what you need. So I asked around, and Jackson's little football coach, his parents, they raised some guineas. So they gave me a set of guineas. I was pumped, man. I had this little house deal I built for them and everything. Well, I would let them out during the day, and you'd kind of stand there with them, and then you'd put them back up. I thought they were pretty trained. So I opened the door. I've never seen the guineas again.
They're eating somebody else's snakes.
But this damn rooster I can't kill. Nobody wants him, and we can't get rid of him.
We'll blame it on Jackson.
Yeah.
I was talking about your kids. The last one of these that we put out was with Dan Mortensen. I told you that before we started, and he's my age and has little kids. And your kids, when you retired, were pretty small, right?
Yeah, Addison was really small, and Jackson wasn't born yet. So
right.
Yeah, they were.
Well, Dan, he told me, and maybe you feel the same. Dan Mortensen said, I could not have had the success in rodeo I had if I would have had kids early, because this sport, whether it's rodeo, whether it's PBR, this sport takes everything you have to pour into it. And if I would have had those kids, I wouldn't have been able to do that. You feel the same a little bit?
Yeah, I agree with him 100%. And I'm sure it's different for everybody. Everybody has different ways of compartmentalizing things or dealing with things or whatever. But the way that I do things with my kids and the way I approach being a dad, there's no way. Where Dan says he wouldn't have been able to have that level of success, I would have had no success, to be honest with you. I just wouldn't have, because I think a little bit to what he is talking about is, for me personally, from the bull riding standpoint, it was from the time I was you know, I had a pretty good idea I was going to make my living riding bulls when I was about 8. Now, some people call that a pipe dream, but I was pretty dead set on it at about 8 years old. That's how I was going to make my living. I didn't know that it was going to be in the PBR because there wasn't a PBR at that time. But that's how I knew I was going to be a professional at whatever level riding bulls. And so from the time of that age until the time I was 28 when I quit, that's all every second was about. I mean, even when we were out raising hell, we still somehow related that to bull riding. You know, like it was all part of it to us. And when I say us, I'm talking about Ross and JW and these guys that I ran around with. And even when I was home, I was at a bull riding. You know, I mentally, that's where I always was at. That's why I used to be a fanatic about bow hunting. And it wasn't so much about hunting, even though I love to hunt. It was more just that time where nobody could talk to me,
right?
Where nothing was distracting me. I was just in the woods and I could just think about riding bulls. And it consumed really pretty much every second of my life for, you know, my adolescence through young adulthood.
Yeah. Do you think when you pour that much into it, I forgot, I guess, that you were only 28 when you retired. And when you retired, you know, everybody talks about, well, maybe he'll be back or whatever. And you said, I'm tired. I don't want to do it anymore. But the fact you did that for 20 years and poured everything into it, which there's a consistency in guys we've talked to, Ty, Dan Mortensen, you're tired. It's pretty soon. You're good. You just can't pour anything more into it.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, I know it's different for everybody. Everybody makes their decisions differently, how they feel, whatever. For me, I wasn't hurt. I wasn't too old. I felt like when I quit, I was the best I'd ever been. Like things had gotten so slow. I knew when one was changing leads, when like I had to really make myself get patient on the back of a bull because I just, everything slowed down so much and I had such a feel for it at that point that I had to wait for him to do it. I knew it was coming, but I would have to stop and wait for him to actually take that jump. And I knew I couldn't maintain that.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever want to be different than it was right then. Yeah. And I knew I couldn't maintain. I was 28. It was going to start coming down the other side of the mountain at some point. And I didn't want to go on that ride. I loved the ride I'd been on getting to there. And I didn't want to ride it down the other side of the mountain.
I'm probably jumping ahead a little here on the direction I want.
And that rooster's going for it.
And that rooster he's getting after it.
Yeah. It
but
does it all night too. I don't know when this thing sleeps.
But what says a podcast about you than a big talk in the background? Yeah.
Coyote de Cielo over there.
I'm probably jumping ahead a little on kind of where I wanted to go. But when you talk, you know, I'm a big football fan. I love watching football. And they say those great quarterbacks, they get really great when the game slows way down. You know, I think that's anything. And now you help guys, you're on TV. Can you help guys slow the game down, or is that got to be in here? Is that up to them, or is there a way to do that?
That's a great question. And it's a very timely question because yesterday, Ross Coleman and I and Cody Lambert, we all loaded up. I've been riding a bunch of colts and stuff and trying to learn more and more about this stuff, and got to meet some really cool guys and have them help me in different things. And so yesterday we all loaded up and went down to a cutting horse guy named Corey Pounds. Great trainer, great cowboy, you know, and great showman. He's won a lot of the big major events over the years, and he's gearing up, getting ready for the cutting horse futurity, which is coming up. And I was asking him stuff, and he was helping me with this 2-year-old. And then he let me on a finish cutter and was talking me through it the whole time and this and that. And I was asking him about, maybe getting a finished horse and showing some in the future and stuff. And he said, yep. And I will help you every step of the way, but there's no substitute for experience. I can tell you all this stuff and you'll get it. You'll understand what I'm saying, but until you're able to apply it, it takes repetition. You got to do it and do it and do it. And the same way with bull riding. You can tell somebody the fundamentals, and they're simple. They're simple and they never change. They never have changed and they never will change. You can tell them those fundamentals. And there's two things though. First off, they've got to buy into it.
Yeah.
If they don't believe what you're saying, if they're just thinking you're giving them lip service and, oh, well, I don't really like what he's telling me,
which
I'm
is
going
a
to go
lot.
ask this guy.
That happens a lot. That
happens a ton.
All the time.
And which is fine. I don't care. I mean, I'm not selling anything. I don't charge guys,
Sure.
It's not about that for me. I just want to see guys be the best bull rider they can be. And if anything that I know can help them do that, I'm more than willing to share that with them. But if they don't buy into what you're telling them, it's all for naught, and then second, it's got to be that experience, because the way I felt on the back of a bull, sometimes I can see a guy ride and I'm like, I know what it feels like to him. I can kind of relate to it. Other guys, I'm like, oh, I've never felt that. I have no idea what you're going through right now. We just went about it so starkly different that I'm like, man, you need to go talk to Adriano or some other guy that was built more like you, that had that more muscular type of riding style, because that was not me.
I watch it. I mean, I name a couple guys that I have even said to him, even though I've never been on a bull, I've seen it on TV. I've seen a few bull rides.
You've seen a few of them.
I've seen a few, and I've learned I pick things out. I can name two just off the top of my head. Andrew Alvidrez, great rookie guy, and Keyshawn Whitehorse, where I've said,
very similar guys.
Two similar guys, and they'll just get busy. They're busy. And I've told them, hey, take a breath and just let it happen in front. I never know how to put it like you do, but I'm
settle down.
It's like sometimes just calm down.
Chill
so
out.
I kind of know, right?
I know. Yeah, no, that's spot on. And like that, those are great young men. I really like both of them. That Andrew, I was so impressed with Andrew all year. I say all year, from the time I got to see him at Guthrie through the back part of the year. I'm excited when he comes back healthy. But he's a strong little dude. Yeah. That's the thing with these guys. They're so strong. They're little freak athletes. They work out all day, every day. And then they go watch videos and chat snap and Graham and all this crap. So there's a ton of information. There's great athletes, and it don't always make a great final product.
Right.
At some point, just go ride a flipping horse around bareback, man. Just get a feel for what's going on. In bull riding, you've got to have a feel. Yeah. And the only way to develop that, it isn't making some move. They get so into all these, I got to do this with my arm or this and that. And no, the move is, if you're not in the middle, get back in the middle. And it really is that simple. Now, there's a handful of things along the way that have got to be right to accomplish that the majority of the time. But it's something that definitely is and can be overthought.
Hey, you know what, though? You bring up a point, too. It's different now. When you say, man, you watch videos, you're on your phones, you're always working out. It's a different generation. I look at my career as generations of guys, even though they're not full generations. It's different now. It used to be, I go through the lobby of the hotel and Luke Snyder, Ross Coleman, J.W. Hart, Justin McBride, Tater Porter, they're all down there.
We weren't hard to find.
No, playing the guitar. And this is a different generation of guys. I can go into a hotel lounge to have a glass of wine or whatever, and nobody's there. I think sometimes they need, and I guess as I say this, I go back to, we had JB Mooney on here, and he says, what do cowboys like to do? sit around a campfire and tell stories. We just don't have a campfire anymore. We need campfire, and that's a lobby of a hotel. I think it would do them good sometimes to be down, being sociable, relax your mind a little, be a cowboy a little more. I think that all contributes.
Yeah, for all of the good stuff that there is now, like Jess he's an amazing athlete. He's in impeccable shape all the time. He eats right. I mean, freakishly about the way he eats. It just wears me out almost. and which is really good stuff. You know, that's a great thing. But at the same time, I'm like, man, y'all just go fight with each other. Go do something, you know, like get out of your sweatpants and let's go do something. And you know, so I think there's a balance to it. You know, there's some stuff that I think for all the bad crap that we did, when you mentioned that crew of guys that I was around, we did some really stupid things that we would get crucified for these days. That those guys don't have the luxury of being able to make those kind of idiot mistakes that we got away with. But at the same time, for us, it was about being a cowboy, you know, or what we thought was about being a cowboy. And it was all geared to bull riding all the time for us, and it was that way, literally. Like if we're in a hotel and we're being rowdy and this and that, and we run out of things to do, we would just fight with each other. And not because we were mad at one another, but we were bored.
Yeah.
So, you know, they were really dumb things, but I think it helped us at times also.
Did you feel a lot of your career like you babysat Ross Coleman?
I tried to, and then I gave up on it. I gave up on it at an early, I never completely have given up on that. There were times where, yes, I would a little bit, but for the most part, I just let him go.
He's doing the perfect thing now. Mostly what he's doing is being a model.
Yes.
It's perfect for Ross. He doesn't need to speak. He doesn't need to talk.
It's awesome.
Hey, good.
It's so bad. He's so into this modeling stuff, which he does a great job at.
Yeah.
But a couple of years ago at the Global Cup, JW and I had him on the team with us and everything. And Andy Watson's needing to get some team pictures. Well, JW orders some, whatever, gets them. And he brings it over to me. He says, look at Ross. And we're all just standing there, you know, taking our picture. Not Ross, boy. He's got his old chin down, staring it down. I'm like, well, yeah, JW, that's our model friend.
Oh, that's funny. So, you know, JB Mooney complimented you in that you were the guy when he started, that you were in the prime of your career. He caught you in the prime of your career, and then you retired, and he watched you. Whether it was media, whether it was how to ride, how to prepare, he spoke a lot about that. Who was your guy that when you started? I mean, besides that rooster, who was your guy?
That's Gallo De Cielo.
that you came in when you started, and that was the guy you watched? One or two? No.
You know what? I would say before I came in, but before I got to the PBR, a guy that I thought I rode just like, until I actually seen a video of myself riding and realized I didn't. But somebody that I tried to model myself after. There were actually two of them growing up. It was Clint Bronger and Michael Gaffney.
Okay. I could have guessed Gaffney. I could have guessed.
They were the two perfect, like, nobody looked better than Clint and G-Man to me. You know, they were awesome. And of course I looked up to Tough and all the crew and Razor and stuff, but those two guys to me were the ones that I tried to emulate in my mind anyway. Turns out I looked nothing like them on the back of a bull, but just how correct they were about everything is the way I wanted to do it. And then when I got to start coming around, I would say it was JW, because I admired him for how tough he was and how grown up he was. Because when I come around, JW was only 24 years old, which is really hard to believe because he seemed like he was 54 to me.
He's been making a living riding bulls. Since he was 15. He was around forever.
Yeah. So I really admired JW, and he was the one guy that kind of let Ross and I jump in with him right off the bat. And he always had crazy redneck stuff to do at his house during the week. Like you would crash dune buggies and go to the car auction and buy cars and crash. So it was something always really fun to do at JW's. And then a guy that I probably learned a lot from was Ty. I learned a lot from Ty, and not anything so much of what he told me. It would just be really smart aleck remarks he would make to me. Pretty derogatory remarks he would make to me at times.
Really?
That really helped me the most, probably.
Huh. That's interesting. Ty Murray to Justin McBride to JB Mooney. Now we wait and see, who's watching JB. There's a lot of young guys, and JB brought it up too, where they look, I'm going to do like JB Mooney. I'm not going to work out. No. There's a few freaks in the world. I always said I've known two guys in their bull riding career that could get away with doing it how they did it and still be champs. Justin McBride and JB Mooney. And I don't know, there's a different, you brought up the point. Young guys will say, dude, like JB, I'm not going to work out, yada, yada. They're missing that element with what you said. No matter what you were doing, it all tied back to winning and being a bull rider. They missed that a lot.
Yeah. And they don't realize, I don't think a lot of times it's missed on actually what JB does do. Yes, they know about the rowdy hell raising JB, but he does a lot of other little things that he doesn't talk about. Right. I had a workout regimen that Ty showed me that I did in my own hotel room. It took 15 minutes every day, and I did that for several years, and it wasn't something that I felt like needed talked about a lot or this or that. I knew where my body needed to be, what kind of shape it needed to be in. And also, I'd been riding some sort of stock since I could walk. JB is that way. He's been competing in rodeo since he was a tiny kid. And look, he's got a better understanding of the fundamentals and the mechanics of riding a bull than most guys do. He's got a better feel for things. He's got a better give and take when it comes to staying on the back of a bull than most guys will ever understand. And so when they say, I'm going to do it like JB, no, you're not. Mm-hmm. But you could take some things, pick out the best things that you like about him and take those away. Take those from him and implement them into your game, because you're never going to be like him.
Right. It recently it slowed back down for him, didn't it? You could see it in those.
He's feeling it again, man.
Yeah. People were saying, oh, poor JB. He just can't keep up. I said, hold on. He's going to, and he just kept going to rodeos. He kept getting on his repetition, just like that cutting horse. Pretty soon here he is at the right time.
Well, he had to get that feel again. And you could see it when he first tried to come back. Everything was just too tight, and it's so crazy in bull riding. I mean, you got to give it everything you've got, but it's got to be going in the right directions. It can't be a tight clamp. No sports, no right. Great athlete can be a great athlete being tight. Yeah. You've got to be able to be loose and free and then turn it on in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. You're sitting at a fairly new ranch there in Texas. You're in Texas, but are you a Texan? Or would you?
You know what? I've often wondered the same thing because I was born in Texas.
Really?
Yes, down kind of in between Fort Worth and Austin. There's an area, Belton, Temple, Killeen, all that area in there is where I was actually born. I lived there until I was 8 years old. When I was 8, we moved to Nebraska, and that's where that's what I consider where I grew up. From 8 to 18, we were in Nebraska. And so I don't really know. I think I'm just a man. I'm a man of the country, man.
You're a citizen by birth. Yeah, your hat's not big enough. I don't know.
No.
But
But I tell you, it's strange though. It's strange because you bring up the Texan thing, and I get it because Texans, they're called Texans for a reason. Like, it's the whole thing. But I swear My mother-in-law in Nebraska, that's what I tell her all the time. I said, you're just a Texan that lives in Nebraska. You act just like them. About Nebraska, though. She thinks
about
Nebraska is the greatest place. It's a lot like you in Montana. You're the same way.
I'm not as much a loyalist to Montana as.
Oh, my mother-in-law is crazy about it.
There's some Nebraskans. Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah.
I can understand. Well, so you're not afraid. You have gone through ranches. You've bought and sold ranches, which I think is cool. And I did not know this, and you can clarify the story. I'm talking to our friend El Diablo on the phone the other day, Keith Ryan Cartwright, and he told me, he said, you got to bring this story up, that the first ranch you bought, you went to the bank and you were not a world champion yet, and you went in and, am I on the right track? I don't have
You're on the right track. Yeah, I'll clear up the details. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're on the right track. I bought, when I first started winning a little bit of money and, in 99 and starting to win some, I started buying land in Western Oklahoma. And it's where my parents were living at the time out there. And I started just buying, land was cheap out there. There's a reason. It's tough country, man. Great people, best people in the world, but it is tough country. And I just started buying land out there. And it was for not much, it didn't cost a lot. The land didn't. And I ended up with a few hundred acres I'd put together, and I decided to build a house on it. And my dad and I built this house ourselves, which was a nightmare. Not because my dad, he's a great carpenter, but because of this guy. Terrible carpenter, no patience, just terrible. I'm a train wreck when it comes to building stuff. So I built this little house on it, and it was a cool little place. I won the world. We got married. Everything's rocking along great. And ranch out there, about 3,200 acres, come up for sale. A really, really good ranch. Had a great home, barns, pens, everything you could want. A live creek running through it. It was a great place. It did cost some money. And I was pretty content with my little spread that I had. Everything was paid for. I had a gold buckle now. My wife liked me. Everything was good. And
that last part, ranch, that helps. That helps.
Yeah, this ranch come up for sale. And I was like, that's what I need right there. That's more of the end game, not just this, it's that. And so, I walked into the bank, and at the time, God rest his soul, he's passed away now, but the banker there in Elk City, old Art, I walked in and explained to him what I was wanting to do. And I had this much in collateral to put up against it. With the place that I owned, I had it all paid for. And I said, I'll go win another world championship and I'll buy this thing. And he said, let's do it. And so, and at the time, it was just in 2006, we were just having Addison, and I'd won the world, and I didn't care about coming back. Like, I really didn't. I went that year, the first handful of events. And when it was getting close for time for her to be born, I left. I never forget, I was walking out of an arena. I don't even remember where the heck we were, St. Louis or somewhere. And I seen Brandon Bates. He was doing in-house stuff back then, and I'm walking out, and he said, see you next weekend. I said, no, you won't. He said, what? I said, I don't know when I'm coming back. And he said, are you kidding me? You're like second or third or something, da-da-da. I don't care. We're going to have a kid. I don't care. So that ranch, buying that ranch, is really what drove me to go win another world title.
Huh. Well,
because if I wouldn't have, I probably would have quit earlier.
Yeah.
See, because like I say, it's different for everybody. Sure. Ty was telling me one time when he won his first all-around world title, he felt like that was getting to first base. Like he was nowhere near what he was wanting to accomplish.
Sure.
For me growing up, all I wanted to do was be a world champion bull rider. If I could be a world champion, the sun would always shine. The birds would sing every morning. Like I would never have a bad day. And what I realized after winning that, I woke up the next morning and everything still carried on. Like
Yeah, everything's the same.
Nothing changed, and so I think it made it easier to get the second one, though. I do feel like that.
Sure. The transition to, you are our best TV analyst. I mean, hands down. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I can tell the guys off once we're done too, but I think in rodeo, in rodeo PBR Western sports, the two best analysts, TV guys are Joe Beaver and Justin McBride. Joe Beaver at the NFR, talking horses, timed event stuff. You talking bull ride. That's harder than it looks. The TV thing, especially now the play-by-play, and I'll get to Craig Hummer. He's the glue. He's the glue that holds it together. But the other guys, because I've done a little ride pass stuff, you got to get in, get out, make your point in that little pocket and make sense, make an impact, and then step back out. It's harder than it looks, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. It can be really hard. The thing that I always try to keep in mind, and it can be a little intimidating, like, look, it's just you and Craig or whatever the dynamic is in the booth, and there's a couple of camera guys and maybe a stage manager, and that's all there is. So it isn't like you're performing in a big front of a big crowd or anything. But when that little red light comes on and you realize there's a couple million people watching, then you start hanging on every word you say. Oh, did I pronounce that right? Should I not have said that word? Should I use this? Especially in today's world. Oh God, who did I just offend? So it can be really intimidating when that red light comes on, if you let it. The way I look at it, though, is we've got great people. We've got great TV people. They know TV. They've worked in all sorts of sports. So I trust them to do the TV part. Y'all get me where I need to be, do, this or that. Leave the bull riding to me. I know about bull riding. I don't know very much in this world, but I do know about bull riding. And so that's the way I try to look at it. Like, I don't need them. We have all kinds of meetings and things, I don't need them to tell me what I'm going to talk about on camera.
Sure. I
will take advice on what maybe they think's a good storyline, but that's all it's going to be is advice. I'll take it or leave it. And I'm not saying that trying to be egotistical or cocky about it or anything like that, but they're a TV guy from New York. Yeah. And they will forget more about TV, the workings of it, how it comes together, than I will ever know or even care to know. But when it comes to bull riding, I don't need a TV guy telling me what to talk about. I need them to help me and bring out those points that I'm wanting to say and do them in the right way at the right time. Maybe hold on to them this week. Don't even bring that up this week. That might not happen for a year down the line. Where I'll use that. So I need help a lot of times, and we have people that will give great help if you're willing to take it. But at the same time, I know about bull riding, and I'm confident in that. When it comes to when you're out there on the dirt, I mean, most people in that situation would feel like they're drowning and cannot get a life preserver thrown to them. You've got to be comfortable in what you're doing and confident in what you're doing. And if you're not, you're going to struggle. If you're worried about, oh, did I say this right? Did I not? Should I say this about this rider or about this bull? You're going to struggle.
Right. I have said rodeo telecasts for years and years have been about, in the past, nobody works harder than this guy. He's the nicest guy in the world. Everybody has an equal opportunity to win. Yep. Give him a hand. He deserves it. I think what PBR has done, and being on a sports network like CBS Sports Network, has made us and guys like you treat them like professional athletes. I have a saying I've always used about cowboys, rodeo guys. They want to be treated like professional athletes until they get treated like professional. Yeah. So I think I think CBS, I think the PBR, I always say we've done a good job. Even our in-arena announcers, if somebody deserves to be criticized and we can be critical, you do it. Do you take heat from the riders? Or are they getting used to that if you're critical? Our friend G-Man, Michael Gaffney, he had trouble with that. He was so nice He couldn't say he should have tried harder. Do you take heat if you're critical? You're no JW Hart.
No, I will never be a JW Hart. Luckily, there is only one hitman.
Yes.
But you know, with that, like, I think everybody has their strengths, and JW, that is a strength of his. Gallo, you got to get somewhere.
What's his name? Chicken. What's the rooster's name?
Gallo de Cielo.
What is that? What is that?
Huh?
Can you say what that?
Rooster. It's a song. It's
okay.
Song. Yeah, you need to look it up. It's a.
I'll look it
song.
up. I'll look it up.
Like
okay.
6 minutes long. Like all the great old cowboy singers. There's Ian Tyson, Tom Russell. All these guys have sing. So it's a cool little song about a fighting chicken. About a fighting chicken. He's no fighting chicken. He's just an annoyed, crazy, possessed devil rooster. But anyway, yes, no. Going back to that, like I feel like that's one of JW's strengths. He's got two really good strengths. One is nobody that does TV stuff or whatever attempt to do it knows as much as JW does about the bulls. Huh. And that's half of our sport. It's not a half that I get quite as in depth in as what JW does, because that's where his main interest lies.
Sure.
You know, and he agrees.
He's getting me. See, well, good point. Good point.
Yeah. But like as far as being critical of guys, I always try to do it in a way where I'm not just being critical to be critical. Like I'll explain why I'm critical of that ride or why I'm critical of this or that, and I try to do it in a way where if they do watch it back, like, yeah, it might offend them a little bit at first, but if they're being honest with themselves, they can see exactly what I'm talking about. And if they want to, they could actually fix it right then, because I just told them.
Yeah, exactly.
But, and so, no, I don't, I don't. I had years ago, a guy, that, and I know him really well and stuff, but he got a little upset with me one time about saying that he was catching his knots on his rope. Looping his knot.
Come on, man. Tell me who it was.
It's Cody Nance.
Okay.
Cody, and he and I have talked about it, and he knows he was doing it, at the time. It wasn't no big deal.
I saw him.
He just didn't like it being pointed out.
Sure.
And it's like, look, you got a job to do. That's ride the bull. I've got a job to do. And you do yours and I'll do mine.
I can see your face. You're still thinking about the rooster. Anyway.
I love that rooster.
Oh, yeah, I know you do.
No, I really
We all do. We all
really don't. If anyone would like some chicken and dumplings, come see me.
Joe Frost. Will.
He likes chicken and dumplings?
He just likes chickens. He buys chickens. So we can get a hold of Joe.
Give him this chicken.
I know. I'll give him a call. Let him know.
Yeah.
Yeah, rooster. Speaking of TV, how the heck, I said Craig Hummer is the glue. Everybody needs a broadcaster, for a while, and the argument has worn out now. It used to be our fans. We need a guy with a cowboy hat. We need a cowboy doing the commentary. I always say, if every NFL football broadcaster was a former player, it'd be terrible.
It'd be really bad.
And how has a guy from Ohio that did swim races in Australia and a lifeguard and on Baywatch become so part of what we do, so well respected for fans that are listening, that are critical of Craig Hummer? He is amazing. How has he done that? Well, for a guy with no background in what we do, really become part of our culture and our cowboy lifestyle.
Yeah. To me, and this is my personal opinion, and as someone that watches a lot of sports, and I watch them in a different way now because of doing TV. Hummer's amazing, man. He really is. Like, the way I feel about Hummer is however good or bad I've gotten to be, in large part, it's due to him.
Sure.
And because I ask him a lot of questions and different things, and like, we've gotten like an old married couple up there now. Like, I know when he's wanting to get a little extra point in or wanting to go a little bit longer on a stat. I don't even have to look at him. he knows when to button it up and let me have it. Like, we've worked together enough and we've got such a feel for what the other one will bring at a certain time that it's really fun. It really is fun. But the amount of work that Craig puts into it, that's what people don't realize. They think they can show up, slap a suit jacket on and do it. Craig works all week long. From in between event to event, he's working on the next event. And that's what makes my job so easy, is because he is so well prepared. And then he's confident. He's a confident dude. You know, he tries to play the, oh, shucks, and you guys can just beat up on me the whole time. But he's not really that way. You know, he's a competitive, confident dude. And that's what makes him so great. He's got a huge ego, but he knows how to disguise it so well.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to be able to do in TV, man. I feel like, and Craig is as good as anybody. I don't care if you're talking about Tarico. I don't care who it is. I feel like Hummer, you could give him an NFL gig.
Yeah.
And he could do it. No problem, because he would do the necessary work.
And you're right. He does the, aw shucks, I'm no cowboy. He never tried to be. He's never put on a cowboy hat. He never, he just does who he is. But when he says,
which I think is the right move.
That's the completely right move.
Because he's not a phony. He is
Exactly.
not a phony. He's a sports guy. He loves sports, and he's great at calling sports. And why do we want somebody pretending that they're a cowboy guy when that's not what you are? That's the phoniest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah. But he, from that background, he probably can talk about bull riding as good as anybody. He's never been on a bull, never grew up around a bull, but as much as he sees it, he leads you into things, like you said, like the old married couple. He starts the conversation so that you can finish it.
Yep, that's exactly.
He knows where he's going. He knows where he's going.
He does such a great job of stating all the facts, and then he'll just throw you a couple little breadcrumbs so you can come give your opinions over top of them.
Yeah. Hey, I like the guy. He's one of he always makes my day better. That guy.
Yeah, but, he's a good dude, man. He's a really, really a great guy, but his work ethic really is second to none.
Speaking of that, coming up the day, as we're doing this, the day this podcast drops, as we say in the biz, when it drops, first day of the PBR World Finals. It's habit to say, I've said it, I don't know how many times. Yeah, I go to Vegas on the 10th. I fly to Vegas on the 10th. To me, PBR World Finals, NFR, I don't even say the name of them. I just say Vegas.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm very glad we're having it, but man, AT&T Stadium's a big room to work. Oh. I'm tired. I've been running every day because what a weird, but we are one of the few sports concert tours, however you look at us, entertainment, that got a whole season in. So kudos to PBR. I mean,
yeah. And I'm with you. I mean, on your point on Vegas, like, yeah, it's weird. It's just weird, man. Like, I'm going to drive to the PBR finals the day of. Like, that just doesn't happen. Right. I'm going to drive home each night. It just is it's a weird deal, but it's the reality that we live in right now. And so bring it on. If that's what allows us to crown a world champion, then I am very thankful for it.
Yeah. I'll kind of put you on the spot. Every year at the PBR World Finals, we go in and we go, something's going to happen. I mean, a few years ago, Ryan Dirt Eater wins the World Finals aggregate title. Jose Vitor Leme comes out of nowhere a few years ago. I mean, every year there's something that makes us go, what the hell just happened? What is it? What are we going to see this year? Do you see anything on the horizon? For one, we brought it up earlier. JB Mooney looks really good. Look out.
Yeah.
What else are we going to see? It doesn't have to be specific, but what's the tone going to be? Who's going to surprise us this year?
There's always, like you're saying, there's that guy that you're like, what? Where did that? I mean, Marco Aguchi won the average.
There you go.
Dirt Eater, Jose coming out of nowhere. Those things, there's always one. There's a guy that gets dialed in during the finals and he's able to ride out of his mind. And there'll be one of those guys. I mean, I can't put my finger on who it'll be. I think though, you've got to, the way Mooney's riding right now. Cooper Davis is one that I really think could win the event. And with that happening, with him winning the event, and I really hope nothing bad happens for Jose as far as injuries or anything like that. But if some freaky thing happened and he wasn't able to stack up any scores, Davis could be somebody that all of a sudden you go, what? On Sunday, this guy could win the world just because of him winning the event. So I think there's enough of those really good guys that are far back that are going to make some noise.
They can ruin it. They don't necessarily have to win the world title, but they can ruin it for somebody.
Yes. I mean, Jess could do that.
Yeah, Lockwood is
big time.
He'll be feeling,
but
yeah.
With all that being said, look, Jose, I would expect him to go in and just kick butt and get his first world title.
Yeah.
I love Joao to death. I love Joao. I think he's one of the coolest guys on tour.
Yeah.
He's tough. He doesn't complain. He just smiles and keeps going at it, man.
But there's this get over that little hump. I don't know if he can get over that.
Can he magically be able to ride bulls away from his hand? No, he can't.
And he's ridden.
But he gets to pick some of them.
Yeah.
And
true.
if he draws some of them that fit him, then, anything can happen. But on paper, no. Jose is by far clear the front runner.
Yeah. Cooper, you hate to say this. Well, Cooper Davis knows it. There's nothing scarier to every other rider than Cooper Davis. Not when he's riding well, when he wants to ride well, because Cooper, he teeters between, my wrist is bad. I got to stay home. And then you'll see pictures of him in Cabo or something.
Yeah.
He's got, I mean, I envy that a little bit. What the hell, have you ever seen the mitts, the hands on Joao Ricardo Vieira? Have you ever looked at, they're like handy Andes. You know what I'm talking about? We did that video last year where we were sitting around the poker table and Chase Outlaw, he was around, and and Joao's sitting there and we had our hands out and they're filming it and he's holding the cards. And I said, holy crap. And there had just at the end of the season at one of the locations been a kind of a scrap when you say I should fight each other.
Yeah.
It was real. It was a couple Brazilian, and he came in first.
Yes.
That guy, I mean, famously, like Phil Line has hands like that.
Right.
There's certain Ty Murray's fingers. That guy, it's no wonder, right? I mean, I would like to get
hit all of your face when he hits you.
Don't you wish, guys? I always talk about guys being good for business. Man, Chase Outlaw is good for business. He comes back and tears up his shoulder? Does that concern you? You know what? Through injury wise?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. But Outlaw, I could spend this whole show just talking about Outlaw.
Yeah,
he is an intriguing, cool story to me. What I've seen Outlaw do from the time I first met him, and I met him the day he turned 18 years old. I met him in Kearney, Nebraska, and I watched him win the Touring Pro there. To what I know now, to where I see him at now, it's insane. It's crazy, the journey that he's been on. And it's still not over for him. But it is pretty cool. Yeah. He's somebody I really think a lot of Outlaw. And it's not that he's a better young man than any of the other guys on there. It's just I've kind of been able to follow his story from start to where he's at now, and to see where he's at now, it's pretty remarkable, and everything that he's gone through, and just to see the kind of man that he keeps working to become is pretty cool story.
Yeah, I agree. Before I let you go, because it's bull riding, because I get asked this all the time. So I finished up with JB Mooney a few weeks ago. I said, all right, the question everybody asks, who's the greatest bull rider you ever saw? And he said, in person? Whatever. In your career? Do you, maybe, no, hell, you don't listen to my podcast. Do you know who he said? Do you know who do you think JB Mooney said?
I think maybe he said, was it in person or anytime?
In person.
Oh, because he probably didn't get to see Jim in person.
Maybe, but yeah.
I would have thought he had went with Razor.
Brian Cantor.
Oh yeah,
Early
I should
on.
have knew that.
Early
I should have
on.
known that because he's told me that before.
Yeah.
He has told me that before.
But then, but then I said, no, career-wise, greatest.
Right.
And he couldn't narrow down. Chris Shivers, he respects a lot, and
Yep.
In your mind, if somebody says greatest bull rider ever, bam,
Jim Sharp.
Jim Sharp.
That's my
don't
my
you think
punchback reaction every time is Jim Sharp.
Most people, I can't say most. A lot of people here's what I see. Fans say JB Mooney, Chris Shivers. People on the inside of the bull riding world say Jim Sharp.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you see?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough. Now, if you start going by statistics, it's tough to throw Razor in with those two guys because the PBR, Jim was kind of on his way out throughout the PBR. He could still really ride and stuff. But if you just go on the eye test of if you know what you're looking at in bull riding and you watch the videos and you see the things of Razor, nobody can compete. You know what I mean? Like stupid good. But then when you start going in the stats and you start looking at the things done in the PBR, I mean, I don't know how you argue with JB, but at the same time, because I had to live through his little ass, was Chris Shivers.
There's eye test.
There's no beating that guy.
No.
There was no beating
in any
Chris
way.
Shivers.
Yeah.
You had to, what I did, and it still didn't work, but what you had to do was just block Chris Shivers out. And not worry about what scores he got in these things and just go ride your bull and hope when all the dust settled that you'd stayed on maybe one more than he had, because you weren't going to beat him.
Yeah.
I don't care. You weren't going to.
No.
But Troy Dunn was one that I really think a lot of also.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's statistics, and then I think that's what Jim Sharp does for you. The eye test. What really?
Yeah, when you watch it, it's perfect. Yeah.
I will say this, and then I'll let you go. When people ask me that, and I say in my career, because I've been, I first started, and Tough and Jim and all those guys were still here, Cody Lambert, and then I went that next generation, Troy Dunn, and then you and Ross, and then now I'm to Jess Lockwood.
He snuck up on me right there. I got some little rocks in this pot here. Get out of here, guy.
But I will say when people ask me that, and I say when it comes to great moments, the kind of friend somebody is, a guy who I know will do anything for me. And what I saw in my career, mine's Justin McBride. Every time.
Oh, man, come on.
Yeah.
Thanks, but I tell you, I got put in, I appreciate that a lot. I got put into this Hall of Fame deal here in Texas the other day, a bull riding deal. And it was a bunch of people a lot older than me there. I felt really out of place at it. But it was cool because Joe Bumgarner was getting put in.
Yes. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
That was awesome. I really enjoyed that. Julio Bushwhacker was getting put in. So there's some cool stuff. But like to me, I don't feel like I belong mentioned in those categories with those guys. But the one thing that I did tell them that day was wherever it ends up throughout time and who's there and who's ranked here, whatever, the way people want to look at it, I can say this. I went and mixed it up against the very best bulls and the very best guys that there were for 10 years. I week in, week out, I went and got on the best bulls. In the limited amount of time that I got to pick them in 08, those handful of events, I picked the very best bulls that there were. And I think that's why I could quit when I wanted to quit. I loved every second of it, and I'm thankful for it and fortunate to still get to be around it in some aspect.
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll do this PBR World Finals, and people listen to it when it's all over and see how stupid we are, who we talked about. But listen, I appreciate it. Like I said, you've always, whenever I call, you answer. And I appreciate that. There's a couple guys that do that. JB's one, you're one. There's a few others, but it was fun. I've kind of lived through all these generations, and I'm on the downhill slide too. I can't do it at 28. I can't quit at 28. Listen, say hi to your kids and your wife for me. And Justin McBride, you're a good champ, and I appreciate your time, buddy.
Thank you, Flint. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. Justin McBride, everybody.